Fantasy Rap
with Austin and Ozzy.
Oh, I just love those boys.
Hey everyone, this is Fantasy Rap, and I'm your host Ozzy.
And I'm your co-host Austin.
You can find us on fantasyrap.com. That is fantasywrap.com. Hey everybody, welcome to the follow-up to Week 9. Let's start off with how we did. How'd you do?
Not good.
Not good? 0-3?
Nope. Yep.
Oh!
0-3. Yeah, put up some real duds this week. My Yahoo team, sub 90 points. That happens when DK Metcalf is out and T. Higgins is, figuratively shooting himself in the foot because he just can't play through any amount of pain.
Right.
I know he's wanting to not get, seriously injured because he's going to be a free agent and wants to get a contract. But
if you don't play, no one's going to pay you.
Exactly. If I was a GM, I'm, somebody will pay him because there's teams out there that need, need help. But
they paid MVS, they paid Lazard, they paid. I mean, you look at some of the players. The guy we always talk about from Kansas City last year, stunk in the Super Bowl.
Kadarius
Toney. I mean, there are guys out there that you just sit there and you go, how are you employed? Mm-hmm. Making millions of dollars.
Yeah, I don't know. But so T. Higgins, and he's looking like he's probably not going to play yet again because, again, he just needs to sack up a little bit, play. Because if he wants the contract that I think everybody knows that he wants, well, he's not doing himself any favors.
And herein lies the question. If you were going to get 20, maybe 25 mil, and you only going to get 15 mil, oh boy. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I could possibly live on only 15 mil.
Wow. Yeah. But again, look at, was it Dalvin Cook that he did that, where he was holding out for, he wanted like a $8-9 million contract, and the only team that would give him one, was, I can't remember, did he end up, was it back on the Vikings for like $3 million a year or something? Yeah. Like he went out, tried free agency, something, but he's just.
And then he signed with the Jets, didn't he?
Something like that, yeah. So T, like I said, I need him to play. I've been trying to make trades, but the Yahoo League's getting kind of boring. We've only had one trade so far this year, and I've been trying pretty hard, and nobody wants to budge, even the really bad teams. So.
How about the rest of your games?
Yeah, same. Not good. Not a lot of points going on.
Yeah, you were huge in our Dynasty League.
Yeah. Well, we got pay-to-win teams, or the main team. The guy taking advantage of that league for years probably before we got into it.
Before I got in and put a stop to it.
Yeah, so his team is ridiculous. So
his backups are better than many of the starters on most of the teams.
Yep. So just a bad week this week.
Yeah. Well, I went 2-1. You can guess which two I won in. Mm-hmm. The ones that I'm now 8-1 in.
Yep.
Won pretty handily in the one. Actually, I won pretty handily in both. I didn't score a lot in the 32-year league, but the guy I was playing against played all the wrong guys. I think I told you he had Purdy in his quarterback position when Thursday night started, and Rodgers on his bench. Well, he couldn't play Rodgers because so he went out and he picked up Bryce Young. And Bryce Young got him half of what Rodgers would have gotten him.
Yeah.
Then he sat another guy, and I can't remember who it was, but then he played Cole Kmet over Cade Otton.
That one is...
I mean, that...
Very interesting.
I believe Otton was my pick of the week, right?
Was it Otton?
For tight end.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he went off. Yeah. Like I thought he would. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's... they had no one else to throw to.
Yep.
Otton.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've got him in here, possibly. Nope, he didn't make our studs.
Yeah.
But then I go to that other league, and I've got Olave.
Yeah,
Right away gets injured.
I had that happen.
I've got A.J. Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Gets injured. I've got Dak. I joked with the guy that I'm playing against. I was surprised that the Kansas City defense actually made it through the game. I thought they'd get injured and probably not finish, and I'd be stuck without all the. Every week, it's 2 or 3 guys getting injured in my lineup.
Yeah.
And they don't finish the game. And it's like I said, going into this past week, I was the second highest scoring team in the league, and I was 4-4.
Yep.
And now I'm 4-5.
Yep.
I'm still in the playoffs, but and I've got a good enough team that I can win. Although I'm without Dak for a while, but
he hadn't been exactly amazing.
Well,
recently,
and I've got that other guy, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he actually had a good game. I was actually going to swap Mahomes in for Dak before, and all of a sudden the game was going on. Well, we went to breakfast after church.
Yeah, that's the other reason why I actually would have won if I would have swapped out. So during church, the Commanders ruled out Brian Robinson, and we're in church, so I couldn't check. And we're sitting there at lunch, and it's already past noon.
Yeah, I always make.
Oh darn! And
I always make a habit of when I walk out of church and go to the car, I check things before the car starts.
Well, with
I know
daylight savings, cranky toddler and a cranky baby. So
yep, I hear you.
But yeah, I would have been the person I would have swapped Robinson out for would have been Rico Dowdle, and I would have won that matchup.
Yeah,
but I mean, whatever.
Hindsight, 2020. Moving on, we've got our injuries. Drake London, week to week with a hip injury.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of the Atlanta game. Ooh, excuse me. So I really haven't heard much of anything about the Drake London injury.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he sits,
they thought it was a hip pointer.
Yeah. If he sits, Darnell Mooney's gonna go absolutely crazy because I think they're playing the Saints. Yeah, they're playing the Saints this week.
Yeah.
And the Saints defense, sustained a couple more injuries in the game this week. And
they trade Lattimore.
Yep, traded away Lattimore to the Commanders.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, if Drake London sits, Darnell Mooney could end up as wide receiver 1 on the week.
Might have to play him.
Yeah.
But who do I sit? Justin Jefferson or Malik Neighbors? I'm not sitting Justin Jefferson ever. Next up, we've got Dak out at least a couple of weeks with a hamstring. Andy had a hand injury.
Something with his hand, yeah. So the Cowboys are just an absolute dumpster fire mess right now.
And I don't know if I said it last week, but I was thinking it, whether I said it or not. I think McCarthy is done there.
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised come Monday morning that he had not been relieved of his duties.
Yeah, Dak out a couple weeks. Next up, CeeDee Lamb possibly. Unknown with the AC joint injury.
But man,
if Dak's not there,
were you watching that game?
Gonna go. Yeah, he was in and out a lot, wasn't he?
And then right at the end,
a guy came in.
No. But I mean, right at the end, he put himself back. He was like, they had to take him out of the game because he was injured. And then a couple plays later, or the next possession, he was like, dude, we're scoring a touchdown. Put me in there.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in some pain, and he played through it. I mean, he's tough.
Yeah, it's good to see. Like I said, a lot of these diva receivers T against. That's why CeeDee Lamb got $30-something million a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, Dak.
Dak, here we go, got 60. Here we go.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, if both of those guys are out, they play Philly this week, and Philly's defense should absolutely destroy that team if they're without Dak. I mean, they are without Dak, but without CeeDee as well. Right. Yeah, again, I agree. I don't know if apparently they're all in, according to Jerry Jones, because they traded for a receiver. Yeah, they got Jonathan Mingo from Carolina.
Yeah, that definitely tips the. I mean, I am probably going to go out and put a big bet on Dallas winning the Super Bowl now.
All right.
Because he just,
I'll take your bet.
No,
Get
no,
your
no.
same return on.
No.
Get your same winnings.
Next up, we've got Chris Olave, concussion protocol.
I thought I had heard maybe some whispers of IR for him. They're going to, potentially treat him kind of like Tua because even in college,
Second of the year.
Even in college, Olave had a couple. Yeah, I think he had one or two nasty concussions, and he's had about one bad one a season since he's gotten into the league, and now
like
two
I've
this year. So.
And like I've said before, it's time the NFL starts imposing a penalty. You get flagged for a hit like that, you're out as long as they are.
Yeah, that one was. To me, that one was 50-50, the defender and Derek Carr. That's what they call a hospital ball. That was a horribly thrown pass in the middle of the QBs get taught not to throw that pass.
I get that, but defenders have to take into account you can't hit a guy with the crown of your helmet and hit him in the head or neck region.
You mean like Brian Branch?
Yeah.
In the Green Bay game?
Yeah.
And he was dumbfounded that they tossed him?
Yeah.
Because, he took 2.5 steps after the ball, which you saw him. If you watch it, you can see him watch the ball.
Yeah.
And then he turns, takes 2.5 steps,
lowers the helmet,
and hits. Was that Bo Melton right in the head? And at first it took a while, but then New York the
Well, and they had
ref
given him a
called.
penalty.
Yeah, but they tossed him, and
then he had got another
believe
penalty.
it. Yeah.
And then he was flipping people off.
Yeah,
the
couldn't
refs.
believe it. It's like
He's going to have a big fine to go with that.
My boss, he's a big Lions fan, and he was like, well, what was the ejection? And I showed him the video, and it was the slowed down, and I was like, in real time watching it happened, and I'm like, they're going to throw him out.
Yeah,
and and then you watch it in slow mo, and it looks even worse because, like I said, you can see him. He tracks the ball with his head a little bit, and then turns and still continue. It was just He had so much time to at least try and slow up, or you throw a shoulder instead of going like that.
Right. Once you drop the top of your helmet into his jaw area, you deserve to be gone.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Yep.
Next up, we've got A.J. Brown, left with a knee injury. It's unknown. He was going to have an MRI. So, could be out.
Was this
maybe not?
Was he out with was it a knee earlier in the season? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
It seems like every year he's got something with a knee that keeps him out for at least a couple weeks.
I don't know. I between him and DK and CMC, I was literally scraping the bottom to try and find players that I could actually play in our dynasty league because of the injuries that I've got and the buys.
That's
everything.
Me coming into this week is I'm gonna have to go and pick up. I might have to start Kyle Juszczyk this week, or I'm gonna have to try and make a trade because I've got buys and injuries, and the running backs on my bench are just backups or they're out, and so I'm in a rough spot in my one league as well.
Yeah, that's rough. Moving on to our studs, and we've got JSN. Surprising. He played the game that I think a lot of people hoped he would have had last year. Kind of explode onto the scene. Yeah. He was plus 21.89. He caught 7 of 13 targets for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had a blow up week. I think did DK miss another week earlier this season? Yeah. So DK missed some time earlier, and he had a really good game because he was the number one, and Tyler Lockett's that. I kind of hope he retires.
Well, he had a touchdown.
Still.
He actually had a decent line.
But, this is the receiver that, in Dynasty, like I got in both of my Dynasty leagues.
Yeah, picked right in front of me.
Yep. And
I was taking him.
Yeah. And, last year was really disappointing because...
You want to trade him for Stroud? I'm kidding. You take that in a minute.
Yeah. He was getting used, his average depth of target last year was like 2 yards. Like everything was at or behind the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
And this year he's finally getting downfield a little bit. It does.
Obviously, with 180 yards on 7 catches, quite a bit.
Yeah. But when DK comes back, though, he kind of shrunk back into that smaller role. And it would be nice to see Seattle go, oh, wow.
Maybe this guy can do it too. Well, and if you've got 2 guys that can take the top off, why not have, spread it around?
Yeah.
In that, sometimes DK does that and other times he breaks off. And sometimes the same thing with JSN. Sometimes you're going to go deep. Sometimes you're going to break off.
And that's going to open up, arguably one of the, when he's healthy, Kenneth Walker is, as good of a home run hitting running back, one cut go.
He plays baseball?
Guy. Yep.
Wow.
One cut go kind of guy, like huge explosive runs.
Yeah.
You get JSN, involved like he was this week along with DK, and that Seattle offense could really take off. And I don't get why they don't try and do that, but I'm not a coach.
You're not a coach or a GM. Next up, we've got Zay Flowers plus 18.49, 5 catches, 6 targets, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
I don't know what it is. The Ravens just absolutely hate me. So I was playing the number 1 team on our Yahoo League. He has Lamar, Zay, and Derrick Henry.
Oh, nice.
And Saquon. So he put up like 160, and I put up like 89 points this week. Yeah.
Played Mark Andrews, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. How'd he do?
Like 2-something points.
Nice.
Better. Actually, he had like 4 points. Better than my other option, which was Zach Ertz.
Oh, he was horrible.
So, I picked the right guy there.
I left him on my bench, luckily, even though I was struggling for players in Dynasty.
So, but yeah, Zay was a little up and down to start the season, but recently he's been very, very good. He just looks like he looks a lot better out there, and then bringing in Deontay Johnson, obviously. So far, I think he only played maybe
I didn't even check, and I didn't see the game.
Yeah, so, unless they're going to really ramp in Deontay Johnson, which I just don't see happening. Zay Flowers is the number 1 receiving option, and then the next option is Lamar running it or Derrick Henry running it. So,
And the next receiving options are probably Likely and Andrews, but
likely goosed this week.
Yeah, they're
Andrews only had like maybe 4 targets. I think
it's amazing how, and you've got a good team with a lot of different options.
Yeah, you're winning games. It's the same with like Mahomes had the good week, this week.
Right.
The only reason he did, in my listening to another podcast that made some good points, Baker pushed Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
He had to play like that. Normally, the Chiefs, their defense is good enough. They're, like Kareem Hunt's been really good, since Pacheco got hurt. So Mahomes hasn't had to be great. He's just had to be good, which being good in NFL translates to average in fantasy.
At best, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yep. But. Next up, we've got Mike Gesicki, plus 17.69. And if you get a feeling that these are a lot the same, they are. 5 catches, 6 targets, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yep. So far, we've had 3 receivers, all with 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Gesicki looks like the guy.
Yeah, that's what's crazy though is he was in like the 30% range for like snap count for the game. He was only on the field for like 30% of offensive plays and put up that stat line.
Yeah.
And Gesicki, when T. Higgins plays, Gesicki disappears to basically nothing. Their rookie tight end, Eric All Jr., got injured pretty early in that game.
And I didn't put him on here.
Yeah. But, I had picked him up for Dynasty in the one league. I was able to get him because, again, it's Dynasty, so you just never know.
Right.
But
you get all of him?
Yeah, I got all of them. So I mean, T Higgins looking like he's probably gonna miss this week again. Gesicki is, I mean, granted, like I said, he's only out there for 30% of snaps or 30-something% of snaps, but when he's out there, he's earning targets and turning them in. I think one of those touchdowns was a bigger one. So he's super involved when he's out there, especially if T Higgins is gone. So.
Right. Next up, we've got Demarcus Robinson, plus 15.19, 6 catches, 9 targets, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, another 2 touchdowns.
Something different.
That's back-to-back weeks for him, 2 touchdowns. I actually added him in the Yahoo League. Just threw him on the bench because Puka. Yeah, well, it's today.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's either today. Yeah, it's this morning. He's, like I said, back-to-back weeks, and last week was the Cooper Kupp back and Puka back,
right?
And Puka,
and he caught the 2 touchdowns. Yes, Puka had most of the receptions.
Yeah. Yep. And the first week in, I can't remember how, like 10 or 12 weeks that Kyron hasn't scored a touchdown, was this week. They tried, but just didn't happen.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's been, again, super involved. I mean, he's the third option in the receiving game, but obviously Puka was out for the. It looked more like he tried to shove the guy in the helmet, but he had. They said he swung closed fist, swung at the DB, but that one felt a little soft, that ejection.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, no, yes and no. I mean, don't swing at people.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that you're upset and you knew that he was down by contact or whatever, but to swing at someone, I always get a kick out of the guys in hockey that sit there when they're having a fight and they're pounding each other, but they're hitting each other's helmets until they can pull them off.
Yeah.
I don't think that feels good on the hand.
No,
I'm not positive because I've never tried that. Maybe we should put hockey helmets on and get into it. Okay. Maybe live sometime.
Yeah, there we go.
Next up,
Pay-per-view.
Yeah. Next, we've got Amari DiMarcado, plus 14.6. 2 catches, 2 targets, 21 yards, 4 rushes, 59 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, he broke a longer one.
I think it was a 54 or 55
Yeah, he broke a long one.
Obviously, when you're scheduled to score like 2 points and you go for 16.6 or whatever.
Yeah. So, he busted one. Trey Benson scored in that game too. Benson actually had a little bit, he had a little more work in this game. But, that one's just kind of like I said, he busted one. And
that's making the most of your 6 touches.
Yep.
It really is.
Yeah.
So, moving on to our duds, we've got Kyler Murray, minus 13.49, 13 of 20 passing, 154 yards, 2 rushes, 6 yards.
Bad.
But they won.
Yeah.
Handily.
Yeah.
It was... Yeah.
But still, that loses you a week.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got Kyler.
Well, and the funny thing is, the 2 rushes for 6 yards is, normally you're going to see 30, 40, 50 yards rushing. And while that's not a ton of points, it's still 4 or 5 more points.
Yeah. So, again, just that loses you a week, and Kyler's been kind of like good, bad, really good, bad, really good, like up and down, and obviously the same is true for Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
If they're playing a little bit stronger of a defense, he does not do very good, but he takes advantage of the bad ones. So you got to kind of, if you have Kyler and obviously if you have Harrison, you got to really look at the matchup. And
right.
You're never going to bench Kyler unless he somehow had a equal option, on your roster, which I would doubt. But yeah, Kyler's, like I said, he's either been quarterback 4 or 3 or quarterback, 18.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Jamar Chase, minus 10.83, 7 catches, 11 targets, 43 yards.
7
Obviously
catches?
7 catches for 43 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That's what,
Yeah, they were-
6 yards a catch.
Yeah, I mean, and especially in a game where Joe Burrow threw for 5 touchdowns, didn't he? I thought Burrow threw for like 5. Maybe it was only 4.
Maybe.
But Burrow threw, I mean, 2 to Gesicki.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, again, Jamar Chase, when T. Higgins is out, Jamar Chase doesn't put up the numbers that he normally does.
Yeah.
Because
They're doubling him.
Yeah, exactly. They're selling out to stop him.
Right.
Because, he's a game breaker.
Right.
And the Raiders were able to do it, even though they got destroyed.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I don't know. Next up, we've got A.J. Brown, minus 10.62 points, 2 catches, 4 targets, 36 yards. Granted, he got injured, but that's not the kind of week you expect out of him.
Nope.
So hopefully that turns around. Next, we've got Gardner Minshew, minus 10.49, 10 of 17, 124 yards, a rush, 0 yards.
Yeah, bad. I think the Raiders are going to be clearing house pretty quick here. I think Pierce is probably going to be gone. I don't. I mean,
How do you get rid of a guy who inherited a pile of garbage?
I mean, they'll do it. They're the GMs are more worried about their job than they are the head coach job. So, I mean, look at the Jets. Case in point, with Robert Saleh.
Yeah.
He was going to go in and they were going to, relieve Hackett of his duties, and then Saleh gets the boot from the GM because the GM doesn't want to piss off Rodgers,
Right.
Or the owner. He wants to keep his job.
Yeah.
So,
wasn't Getsy down in Las Vegas?
I believe so.
He lost his job. So
Yeah, I mean, and they don't have any other options for the Raiders because O'Connell is still out, right?
yeah, I forget who came in.
Yeah, I have
I
no clue who.
I saw that someone took over for Minshew, and I don't know. Next up, we've got
Probably
Flacco.
like Brian Hoyer or something came in.
Yeah.
He's like 55 still being a
Yeah,
backup.
actually, I think it was one of those guys in the commercials when you need a
Josh Dobbs.
to hold the picture. Next up, we've got Flacco, minus 10.19, 16 of 27, 179 yards, a touchdown, an interception, 2 rushes, minus 1 yard. Not exactly what you were expecting from him.
No, I had started him in one of the Superflex Dynasty leagues, and it was really bad. And Minnesota is like one of the top defenses. Like they're bad against the pass. They're really good against the run.
Right.
And obviously, the whole Colts offense really struggled. But I mean, Jonathan Taylor too probably was not far off of the duds list here. But Flacco, I started him because I'm like, all right, Josh Downs, you got Pittman, Alec Pierce is always good for like an 80-yard catch. He should be able to throw on Minnesota, and they're probably going to need to because Minnesota's going to rack up some points. That game was kind of ugly in the first half anyways.
It was.
On both sides. It was not very good. So, yeah that one kind of sucks for Flacco. Hopefully he can turn it around here.
Yep.
Because it sounds like they're sticking with him for the rest of the season. So
Doesn't surprise me.
Nope.
Next up, we've got our waiver wire, and first on my list is Gesicki.
if he's out there, grab him.
I mean, we pushed Cade Otton for how many weeks?
Yeah.
And he keeps on putting up the numbers. I read somewhere where someone's saying, this is the Sam Laporta of 24,
Yeah.
Who knows
Yeah.
with Otton.
Except Otton's been in the league for like 5 years now.
Right, but I mean, he was
yes.
exploding on the scene.
Off the waiver wire.
Right. So, I mean, if Gesicki's, I actually have a waiver claim in for Gesicki.
Mm-hmm.
I got a whole 2.4 points out of Dalton Schultz.
Yep.
He's really doing a great job for me. Next up, Demarcus Robinson, if he's available.
Yeah. Like I was saying, he's even with Cooper Kupp and Puka back, he's been super involved. The 2 touchdowns back-to-back weeks.
Now,
obviously, that's not going to be prescriptive. They weren't very long touchdowns.
Well, and did they happen after Puka went out?
I think the first one was before, and then the second one was probably after.
Gotcha.
Because, like I said, they would get down to like the 3, and Kyron got stuffed a couple times, and
So
then
they
I
just
think
started
both
passing.
of his were pretty short yardage touchdowns.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
Next up, we've got DeMarcado. Questionable. He's if he gets an opportunity.
yeah. I mean, this
and
is
you're
the,
hurting. I mean, it's
Yeah.
bye season, so
yeah, that too, and this is the time of the year where you want to start handcuffing as
Right.
well if you're available. So like if you have James Conner, I think it would be Trey Benson, just because he's the rookie. DeMarcado's had opportunities in the past to be the
Right.
guy, and didn't show. But again, take your pick. Same with if I'm going to add one like Blake Corum. Like I'm the Kyron manager. I do actually have an open bench spot, and I've been thinking about tossing Corum because Kyron's usage is insane. It's like 99% of all their snaps is Kyron Williams. So,
Right.
you want to start looking at the handcuffs.
I mean, obviously, going into the playoffs, as we get closer, because you're still stuck right now because up through week 14 we've got buys,
Yep.
and unless you've got a free spot or you can afford to do that, I would do it as early as possible because otherwise you may not find someone.
Yeah, kind of the next name too.
Right.
I mean, handcuff, but also kind of 1B right now. Ray Davis,
Right.
James Cook, I don't think was very good in the game, and Davis scored again.
Right.
Has looked really good. So, again, handcuff or, he's
He's been putting up
He's been a flex play pretty much the last handful of weeks here.
right.
So
Right.
yeah.
Next up, we've got Cooper Rush. Obviously, with Dak being out 3, 4, 5 weeks, possibly Cooper Rush could be a decent play as long as CD's
Yeah, I
healthy.
was gonna say as long as he
And
lands.
I mean, you've got Jonathan Mingo now. I said that with a straight face.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Jake Ferguson's probably going to be in for a nice stat line this week. He's probably going to get about 18 targets.
maybe.
So.
Maybe. I wasn't. I mean, did Cooper Rush really throw it at him at all?
I
don't think he did.
don't know. I think Ferguson, because I have him in one league, he had like 11 targets this week, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know who, at what point. I didn't watch any of the Cowboys games, so
Yeah. It wasn't. It wasn't a great game.
yeah.
Next up, we've got Josh Oliver. Interesting name there, but he definitely outplayed Hawkinson.
Yeah, I mean, Hawkinson, again, I mean, they took their time bringing him back, but it is still his first week back. It's going to take a little bit to get reacclimated to game speed and everything. So, I mean, yeah, it's a name, waiver, waiver flyer, bye week, again,
Or if you have Dalton Schultz,
that too.
or any of the other. I mean, there are a lot of bad tight ends out there.
Yeah, this week was, unless you had Gesicki, Otten, or Kelsey, you were not happy with your tight end. Trey McBride, he had a rushing touchdown, I think, but he only had like 30 yards receiving. So it wasn't a bad week, but yeah, unless you had, like I said, Gesicki, Otten, or Travis Kelsey, tight ends went right back down into the gutter. I mean, it really
after
fell
tight end
flat.
weekend.
Yeah. It really fell flat this week.
Yeah. Well, and it was, you take it as it comes, I guess. I mean, you hope that you find one that's going to perform and perform at a decent level week to week.
Yeah.
And it
If
never
you can
seems
hit
to
their
happen.
projection, you're happy.
Right. My last one on the list is someone who got traded today, and it's Khalil Herbert going to Cincinnati
Yep.
as Zach Moss is injured.
Yeah, that Moss one, they're saying for sure rest of season, but they said it could be even longer. That he's
really?
Yeah, he has a neck injury, and it sounds like it's pretty serious. So yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah. So
Well, he won't be playing on my Dynasty League then this year.
So
Hopefully we get that CMC back soon.
yeah,
But, I mean, Khalil has an opportunity there because they've been using a lot of Chase Brown.
Yeah, Brown was a monster this week because he was truly the only guy there. Had, everything. Herbert will come in. I mean, I think it'll end up probably being like a
70-30, 80-20.
Yeah, if that, Brown has looked really up, far and away the best back on that team, and obviously had the big week this week. So
yeah. Was last year his first year?
Chase Brown?
Yeah. Because I want to say that no, it couldn't have been because they had Mixon, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I had
Mixon. They still had P. Ryan.
Yeah, I had picked
I want to
up.
say they had Chase Brown last year, but I don't know if that was his rookie year or not.
Yeah, it was either last year or the year before that I actually picked him up and started playing him because of injuries to my running backs, etc. And he performed really well. I think he's a great running back if he's if he were still available. But I agree, Khalil Herbert is one of those more of a.
He's like a third down back, pass catcher. He's real shifty, he's a little guy. He's small.
I mean, he's more of the handcuff in case Chase Brown gets injured.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say. So
I'll throw out one more name. Just I would keep an eye on him. I think he's been he had been injured and then came back and ramped up. But Mike Williams got traded to Pittsburgh. They've been they've been linked to every receiver that's been whispered about. I guess apparently they had a trade in place with Jacksonville to acquire Christian Kirk.
That's what I heard also.
And it was the week that he broke his collarbone.
Yep.
So that obviously fell.
It's the week that Green Bay beat up 3 of their receivers.
That too. So yeah. But yeah, so Mike Williams, a name to just keep an eye on for now. He'll probably immediately slot in as the number 2 option behind George Pickens.
Yeah.
So whether that turns into anything, who knows? But I'm going to keep an eye on him and just see what happens because he's got big play potential.
Oh, he does.
But he's another one of those guys that seemingly can't stay on the field, and he's very up and down.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Well, that's all we've got for this week. Hopefully you get a chance to listen or watch. I am Ozzy.
And I'm Austin.
Have a great week.
Bye.